Hey guys, so I am absolutely shocked to say that I topped the North American Remote Duel YCS with Cyber Dragons, which was like an 1800 to 1900 man event. So I finished 13th in Swiss with a 9-1-1 record, and I started out 6-0. And you know, funny story, I actually didn't know that there was first round of Top Cut today because I'm clearly a noob. Now I did lose in the first round of Top Cut, and I'm not going to reveal what he played because the event is technically ongoing, where they'll be playing on live stream in a few weeks. So we'll just get to the deck profile, and before I do that, maybe this will be a good opportunity to plug in my Cyber Dragon merch if you were interested in checking those out. So let's just get started, and I'll talk about some of the matchups at the end of the video. Okay, so let's just start with the main deck. We of course have the 3 Cyber Dragon core. It is the best and technically the only good normal summon you could argue. Its search on summon is mandatory, so remember that effect, but it will search a Cyber Dragon spell or trap on the summon. Then we have the 3 Hers. Its primary reason is to be pitched for Galaxy Soldier, so you can go into your Nova Infinity play. We play the 2 Naxxer. Some people like to play it at 1. I actually really like it at 2 because, so for the main reason, you know, or rather, the main purpose of Naxxer is to be brought out from the deck when you banish core from the graveyard, when your opponent has a monster and you do not. And then this will special out, let's say, the Nova Infinity or Rampage in your grave. But, you know, the second one, for example, when you get hand trapped and having this in hand, you know, it can special itself by pitching another monster. So you could at least go into Anaconda to bring out Dragoon, for example. And sometimes, if I already have whatever I wanted in grave, I would use Codetalker Rampage, and I would send one of these at least. That way, if I get access to a ref system later in the game, I have another way of using that effect to, you know, use ref system, bring this back, and this will bring back Infinity or whatever. So having just multiple routes for recovery. Next, we do play the 3 ulti Cyber Dragons. So this is literally the only reason why I started double sleeving, but you know, we are playing the Machine Duel variant, and you of course need the 3 OG Cyber Dragons. Next, we have the pretty much honorary Cyber Dragons and the 2 Galaxy Soldiers, and the other light machine being Jizakuru, which you can search off Cyber Repair Plant. And then some other monsters, we do have 3 Ash, and I played the 3 Imperms, so that rounds up the 6 hand traps. I was considering main decking Droll, obviously because of Drytron, but I decided, you know what, I like Imperm for its versatility better, and I figured, you know what, I'll just side heavily for Drytron and just accept my bad matchups. And the other monster is, of course, the Dragoon package, which the Dragoon is just way too good. I mean, it gives you a really easy way to OTK, actually, the pop and burn, because we're going second deck. That comes up a lot more for us, and it just allows such easy kills. And also when we go first, it gives us that extra negation now instead of just Infinity Pass. So I like it. If for long time viewers on my channel, you know that I've tested it out without Dragoon as well, and I think that build is also very good. But I decided the most competitive route was to play the Dragoon engine, especially going against Drytron, where I actually choose to go first, and then having that Dragoon is pretty nice. On to the rest of the spells, we of course have 3 Cyber Emergencies. So we played this card before it was cool when Drytron started using it, and let me tell you, a lot of people would breathe a sigh of relief when they see me as Cyber Dragon core instead of a Drytron monster, but hey, it's okay, I didn't take any offense. I also play the 1 Repair Plant. This, like I said earlier, adds the Light Machine from your deck to your hand. Typically, you're adding Galaxy Soldier. Remember, you do need a Cyber Dragon in grave to be able to activate this, so typically that's why Almirage is played, so that you can get the normal summon baby Cyber Dragon into the grave. And then you can also search, like I said earlier, Jizakuru with it as well, and it's quite a nice out to a lot of problematic cards. Cyber Ref System, this is what allows the special summon from the graveyard or from your hand if you have the original Cyber Dragon, and that special summon monster cannot be destroyed by card effects. And so this is good because when you have core, it is now a 1-card Dragoon, because you would summon the core, link it into Almirage, use this, which you would have searched this off of core, and then you can bring back the core, link the Almirage and the core into Anaconda, and bring out Dragoon. Next, we have the 3 Machine Dupes. It allows for easy OTKs, gets into your Nova Infinity play, and when you're going first, having a baby Cyber Dragon and this is just golden and will allow you to set up Infinity and Dragoon very easily. And then we of course play the Overload Fusion. Also is something that you can send off of Anaconda. I do admit I prioritize sending Red Eyes Fusion more often, but if it's a completely empty board, you would be sending this instead, because then you would bring out Rampage and that would allow OTK, whereas with Dragoon, on a complete open board, Infinity and Dragoon and Anaconda, they do not result in game. So you have to pick and choose depending on the situation. Then we are playing the 3 Pot of Prosperity. I know, some of these cards are quite expensive, but it does really work well in this deck, and this card has saved me a lot during the tournament, but just in general when I play this deck. The downside of this deck is the consistency issues, because this deck can brick hilariously bad at times, and this can at least help that at least a little bit, and especially when you're choosing to go first post side, for example, against certain decks depending on the format. It allows you to either play through hand traps, still set up Invoked Dragoon, or if you already had that and with the icing on the cake, you can try to search for your side cards and just add that, and it's quite good for this deck. And then again, another pretty powerful spells is Forbidden Droplet. I thought about taking these out for Droll, but I actually really liked having at least some form of monster negation. I mean, I do play Imperms the Corpse, but I really like this card. I think, especially when you play Dragoon, especially when your opponent has some high attack monsters, you do this, negate their effects and whatever, pop with Dragoon, like you're just dealing a ton of damage, and it allows for pretty solid wins. And then some back row hate as well. We're playing the 2 Lightning Storm and the 2 Cosmic Cyclone in the main. I was thinking maybe I should just play 3 Lightning Storms in the main or something like that, but I did want to have some form of quick play spell trap removal, especially with Tri-Brigade always main decking Imperial Order. I get it, it's only just 2 cards, but I figured it's a non-zero chance, and it really did actually come up having this in the main against an Imperial Order and some other back row cards as well, so I really liked it. And lastly, with the traps, we have the 3 Imperms. Like I said earlier, technically a Cyber Dragon card in terms of art. Unfortunately, no, you cannot search it with core, but it's a very good card. It allows very versatile plays in terms of, it's good going first and second. It's also good in terms of shutting down potential floodgates after you set it, something like I said earlier, Imperial Order, or there can be only one, which this deck can potentially struggle against depending on how you sequence your plays. So I really like this, and I'm glad that its popularity has come back in this format. And I guess just the last trap is the Cybernetic Overflow. It is typically the only trap you play in a Cyber Dragon deck. It can banish Cyber Dragons of different levels from hand, field, or grave, and then you can pop that many cards. It does not target, it does not banish for cost. And also keep in mind, if you're banishing from hand, it has to be original Cyber Dragon, because the baby Cyber Dragons are only Cyber Dragon on the field and in the graveyard. So that was it for the main deck, and it does come at 43 cards. I know some people might be triggered by that weird number, but you know what, it worked for me. Okay, so on to the extra deck. We have Almirage, Link Spider, Anima, Anaconda, and Seeger for the links. So this, of course, is just what you send the baby Cyber Dragon to grave so you can get your Repair Plant live. This comes up when Nova gets Nibued. Well, you get Nibued typically on the Nova, and then you get, Nova can bring out a Fusion Machine monster from the extra deck, and then you can convert the Nibiru token to a Link Spider, link those 2 monsters off for Anaconda, and you can still bring out Dragoon that way. Anima is because hers and Naxter are level 1, and you can suck up the Jizukuru you give to your opponent or the Nibiru token. Didn't actually come up at all at the event, but it does come up in general. Anaconda, very integral to this deck. We definitely played it even before Dragoon came out, because you will be sending Overload Fusion. It enables very easy OTKs, like I said earlier, and I should clarify, what I meant to say was Infinity and Anaconda on an open board, you would send Overload Fusion so that you can go for game. In terms of Seeger, of course, it enables your OTKs as well. It boosts that whatever machine monster with 2100 or more attack, and it gives it an extra 2100 attack. Keep in mind, some people get this confused a lot. It's just Seeger that your opponent will not take damage from. If you boost Rampage, for example, and Rampage goes to 42 and it attacks 3 times, it's going to deal damage. That's the whole, one of the win conditions of this deck. So, watch out for that when people think or try to argue that they're not going to take damage. They will. They just won't take damage from Seeger when you use its effect. Next, the XCs. We have the 2 Novas and 2 Infinities. So people who watch my deck profiles in the past, they'll probably get sick of me explaining this every single time, but I like this ratio because, sometimes going into the second Nova does really come up and it's a difference maker. Also, if people play Maximus, which they haven't really been playing too much, although today I actually did play against the Maximus build, and the 2 Infinities, the reason for this is because I like to bring back the Nova with Naxter from grave and then just go into a second Infinity, because it kind of forces your opponent in this position where they either have to, for example, let's say they have to pop the Nova before I go into Infinity, in which case Nova will bring out a Fusion Machine monster from the extra deck, or you summon the Infinity with a material on the summon. And then of course we have the Zeus. We don't go into it as much as other decks. that play it, for example, but you can go into, you know, like Nova Infinity and then attack, go into Zeus. And then one cool thing is if your opponent destroys any other card you control, you can attach hers from the deck onto Zeus, and then when you detach to use its effect, you know, hers will trigger and add you whatever Cyber Dragon from graveyard or deck to hand. So it's a nice little interaction that didn't come up at the YCS, but it definitely comes up for me on Duel Book. And then finally onto the fusions, we have Dragoon, our other boss monster. I decided to play 2 Mega Fleet this time actually, and the reason for this was because I assumed Sky Striker and Salamangreat would be really popular, and maybe that was the case. I only went against Salad once, which was round 1, and against that, you know, this card is very good because you can link away their, or fuse away their Banelings, for example, turn off their Roar, and against Sky Striker, you know, if you Mega Fleet, it does not trigger Ray, although against Sky Striker, you still have the Fortress as well, because their links are machines that you can use. But to be honest with you, so this used to be a Mekaba that would serve as something that could come out of Nova, and I think I'm going to go back to that. This second Mega Fleet just did not come up at all, and I think it's fine just having the Mekaba, and of course the Rampage usually are win condition in terms of OTKing your opponent. It's going to pop spell and traps on the summon if you fusion summon it based on the number of fusion materials used, and then you can send 2 light machine monsters from your deck, and it will gain that many more attacks. So essentially it's going to be able to attack 3 times. And in terms of the light machine monsters you typically send hers and core. That way hers will trigger if you didn't use it that turn, and then hers will trigger and add the core from the grave to your hand. So that's kind of how you set up recovery plays for your follow-up. And finally, onto the side, we're playing 3 Nibiru. You know, generic, pretty good against any kind of combo deck. Of course, like I said earlier, I expected a lot of Salad too, at least in the earlier rounds, and you know, this is obviously very good against them. And you know, against Drytron with another hand trap, it was quite impactful as well. And speaking of Drytron, we have Droll and Lockbird for them, and it's definitely, you know, the best hand trap against them, if it even resolves, that is. But really, really good card, and I'm glad it came up clutch when I needed it. And I am playing 2 Ghost Spells. I was playing 2 Dark Rulers, two Dark Ruler No Mores, but I decided to swap this last minute just because it can be good against Tri-Brigade in terms of Revolt, although if they have Appaloosa, then it's, you know, useless. But it did definitely come up, and at least it gave me some extra side cards to put in against Drytron as well. And this definitely was MVP against the last 2 Tri-Brigade I faced in my final 2 rounds in Swiss. Definitely the MVP there. Now on top of the 4 main deck back row heat, I'm actually citing 3 additional, a very, very high impact in terms of Harpy's Feather Duster and Red Reboot, and just a 3rd Cyclone just to have that extra quick play spell trap removal. Now in terms of going first options, this is something I featured on Team Sam's channel way back, and where I featured the summon limit. You know, for our deck, when we are going first intentionally, or we suspect our opponent may force us to go first, this card is just really, really good. Now I admit it's not as good as it used to be since the release of Triple Tactics Talent, because if you play the Dragoon build, for example, and you have Infinity and Dragoon, which means you already spent 2,000 on Anaconda. So if you have Summon Limit and they bait out all your negates and they have talents, then you instantly lose, because they will just take your Dragoon, pop your Infinity for 21, and then assuming that Dragoon is at 4,000 attack, they can attack you for game. So you definitely have to be careful. You know, you kind of let them do their summons. You try to just negate anything else, and usually it can definitely be your MVP and the reason why you win. And the other card that I featured in my deck profile a month or 2 ago is I decided to add in another going first option, which is Imperial Order. And the thing is, you know, this card can really screw us, to be honest with you. But the reason why I decided to play it was that, you know, the purpose is to be a blowout card, right? Like, it's just to force your opponent into submission. You're not really looking to go into the grind game with this card. It's just more of a turn 1 thing. You hope that that's enough for them to just, you know, essentially scoop, because they can't do anything. And I have noticed other Cyber Dragon lists starting to play this as well since I featured it. So, you know, it's pretty cool to see that perhaps I am having an influence, but, you know, I think it is good. It definitely came up, for example, against a Dogmatika Invoked Shaddoll player. He just instantly scooped after seeing this, and it's just too strong. I really wish it got banned, but until then, I think I am just going to keep playing it. Alright, so that was it for the deck profile. I guess I'll try to cover some of my matchups briefly, and I think what I'll do is maybe I'll go on deck profiles on other people's channels and maybe go more in detail then. But briefly, I actually started out 6-0 on day 1, so I went against Salamangreat, Drytron, Dogmatika Invoked Shaddoll, Subterror Dragoon, Drytron again, and then Codetalker. And that one was funny because he set up this U-Link board, and then I just like special summoned Cyber Dragon and then got rid of the 2 extra deck monsters. And then round 7 is where I lost against Orcust Mekk-Knight. That was a really cool deck. Then I won final round in day 1 against Drytron, so then I was 7-1 heading into day 2, and you know, my whole goal was just to make it to day 2. This was my second ever YCS. I had just baby step goals, and I was happy regardless of the outcome on day 2. And so today in day 2, we started out against Dogmatika Invoked Shaddoll, and that actually ended up being a tie. So at this point, I'm 7-1-1. Then next round was Tri-Brigade. I did win that 2-0, and then final round was Tri-Brigade again, and he was actually, it turns out he was same guy from my remote duel locals that I attended, although quite sparsely. But yeah, it was really cool, and he was super nice, super great guy to play against. And with that, I finished 9-1-1, and like I said, finished 13th in Swiss, and then first round of top cut. Again, I'm not going to reveal what he's playing, but I did lose, so I did finish top 32 at this YCS and 13th in Swiss, and I'm very, very, very happy with that outcome and very grateful for how it worked out. So yeah, that's it for the matchup coverage. But anyways, you know, that's it for the whole deck profile video. If you want to learn the combos and tips and how to play this deck, you know, you can make sure to check out my Cyber Dragon tip and ruling videos that I'll link below. You can also look out my dueling book replay videos. They're all on this channel, and you can try to watch them and see if you can learn a thing or two, hopefully. So thanks for watching, guys, and take care.